Hey, I just wanted to say at the beginning of the video, thank you guys so much for 3,000 subscribers. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. But I also wanted to make you aware that this isn't the beginning of this rant, because the actual rant is about an hour long unedited, and DSP spent about 15 minutes going over the things that we've already talked about in all of the other videos that I've done on the Turkey Tom subject. I mean, he honestly did spend 15 minutes doing a recap, and I just didn't think that we had to go over that again. And luckily for us, Doody didn't think we wanted to go over that either. So big shout out to Doody for pre-cutting this clip exactly where I needed it, to be honest. But I did want to inform you of this, just that you could really understand the absurdity of this entire segment. Just be aware that there's about 15 minutes that were cut that we're not going over that was just recap for some reason.
In reality, my usual audience is around 300 people on a podcast, okay? So me talking to you, this is like the preacher preaching to the choir, right? You guys are here every day. You like the stuff, you like me, you understand where I come from. You don't need me to tell you about what I stand for. You know already. You're here, right?
Well, I wouldn't exactly use the words preacher and choir in your situation, DSP. I'd probably use like cult leader and followers. That's probably more applicable. But I guess it's close enough.
But for me to go to an outside podcast or an outside show and talk, that's different. That's exposure. That's giving me a venue to talk to people who don't sit here on this show every day and know who I am. They don't watch my gaming. They don't watch anything. And you know, wow, wait a minute. Someone who stands for this kind of stuff is a little different from everybody else. That's interesting. That's fascinating, right? So if there's a benefit for me to go in an interview with someone like Turkey Tom and talk to his audience or whatever, then maybe it's worth it, right?
But DSP, I thought you curated content for your small audience of people who already like you. You said yourself you're not interested in appealing to a wider audience. So what benefit would it be to you to be introduced to people who haven't seen you before? That's not your audience. Those aren't the people that you curate your content for. I by no means think that it's a bad idea to grow your audience at all. Because while I personally don't like your content, and I personally don't think that the average person is going to either, there's definitely got to be dents in the sea that you haven't reached yet. And I don't personally think that it's ever a bad idea to try and get more eyes on your content and have more people check out what you do. And I don't mean you specifically, DSP, I just mean content creators in general. I don't think it's ever a bad idea to reach more people as someone who puts content on the internet. But as DSP has made it very clear before, he's anti-good decision. He's anti-popularity. He's anti-doing anything that would actually benefit his business whatsoever. So I don't see how this is particularly a benefit for DSP. Unless, of course, he's switching up on the things that he's already said, which we all know that he does all of the time. But I said it before and I'll say it again. I got no respect for the switch up.
But that's what I have to really analyze here. It's not a matter of, oh, is it going to be overly positive or overly negative? Because if you want to know the truth, I don't think it would be either. I feel like there would be positives and negatives. There's going to be times when he's going to talk about stuff that I've done wrong, stuff that he feels that I probably should be called out for, right? To which I'm going to fess up, yeah, I probably did fuck up a lot. I'm a human. I made many, many mistakes in the 15 years I've been a YouTuber.
Broadly saying that you've made many mistakes over your 15 years as a YouTuber, though, DSP, is putting it very, very lightly. Saying that doesn't capture just how awful and toxic you've been over the past 15 years, though, and continue to be.
I've had situations where I absolutely know I made the wrong decision. I treated people badly. I made bad business decisions for sure, and it hurt me. And then that rolls over to my audience, because when you're someone who's crowdfunded, well, now guess who the responsibility goes on to keep me going? The viewers. Because I have no other source of income, and that's not fair, right? And that's happened many times over the years, right? So, yeah, there's rightfully things that he could easily call me out for and say, you did this wrong, should you have done this better, blah, blah, blah. But here's the other thing, too, all right? I could do that by myself. Like, I just did. Did I not?
But it's not the same thing at all, because what you just did there didn't actually talk about anything specific. It didn't address any particular issue whatsoever. It was a very general statement that could be chalked up to mean actually anything in your past that could even be remotely deemed negative. That's why it's important that you talk to individuals and you specifically get grilled and you get questioned on specific topics and that you have to answer for them. That way there's no broad answers that cover so many bases all at once. People want to hear you address specific topics. They want you to be held to the fire. They want you to specifically answer for instances that have happened. Because while you might just say that you've been a dickhead to people in the past and you feel bad for it and you regret that, that doesn't actually answer any of the questions that people have. Why did you feel like you didn't have to pay the people who worked with you on Project 7? Why do you treat specific members in your chat one way and not another? Why do you have to have a stranglehold on your chat? Why do you feel it's okay to name drop other content creators, but the second that they do it to you, it's automatically not okay. And I know this is kind of a wide range of subjects here, but all of these can be covered in just DSP saying that he knows that he's been negative to people and hasn't always treated them correctly and he regrets it. Those are the kinds of answers that just aren't acceptable. That's not what people want to see. That's not what people want to hear. They want to hear about specifics. And to get back on track, that's why it's important that he would do an interview. That way that someone could specifically ask him questions about specific instances and he could actually be held accountable and answer for them without just being able to change the subject as flippantly as he wants.
Did I not literally just do that right now and say, yeah, it's wrong when I make bad choices and those choices result in negativity and that negativity hurts my business, and now that responsibility to keep the business going is on the viewers because I'm a crowdfunded guy. I just said it, right?
Yes, but what you said didn't actually clarify anything. It didn't answer any questions. And it definitely didn't show that you learned anything from these experiences. It didn't explain whatsoever how you're going to continue to move forward and be a better person and actually make any sort of progress to being a better content creator. Broadly acknowledging that you have faults, that you've done things wrong in the past, doesn't actually make up for any of them or explain how you're going to not make those bad decisions anymore. If you acted like a POS to your significant other, apologizing is a great first step, I agree. But unless you can articulate the things that you've actually learned and how you're going to progress forward and not make those mistakes, it's worth nothing. And even John Rambo himself said that DSP apologizes for things and then continues to do them. So eventually his apologies don't actually mean anything, because apologies don't mean anything if you're not actively trying to not do those things anymore.
Ultimately, I don't want it to be like that forever. But right now, that's just how it is, right? There's nothing I can really do about that. That's the situation I'm in. So I can easily self-analyze too. The thing is, do my viewers really care for this? Right? Is this something that they're interested in? Probably not. Again, this is more appealing to a bigger audience, a different audience than my normal viewership. You understand?
I don't know what audience would not be interested in seeing a content creator that they enjoy actually hold themselves accountable and try to right any past wrongdoings. I just don't know what kind of community would actually want their content creator of choice to just continue moving forward like a bull in a china shop, wrecking everything that they can possibly see, and then not addressing any of it or ever making up for it or even learning from it. And if that's his community, that's fine. Who am I to judge? But at the same time, it doesn't seem like the kind of outlook that a community should have for their content creator of choice.
So really, there's so many factors involved to thinking if I should do this interview or not. All right, there's a lot of thought goes into this. Okay.
Holy voice crack. Did y'all hear that? That's a 41-year-old man doing that.
So, I'm not beating around the bush. Let me tell you what happened last night. All this feedback is coming in. All right, and I'm like, all right, the last thing I'm gonna do before I go to sleep, all right, I'm going to watch this supposed response video that Turkey Tom made a few days ago. Because I guess like 4 days ago, he made a response video about me responding to things he has said, or people told me about things that he had said about me in the documentary. So I responded to it. He watched clips of that, and then he responded to those clips, right? It was about a 20-minute video.
Wow, DSP, you really couldn't have made that any more complicated if you tried. It's really as simple as he watched you complain about his documentary while you were playing games, so he responded. There was just a lot of unnecessary words in the way you said it. I know we pretty much said the same thing, but I don't know why you had so many words in yours. You're just the king of wasting time, I guess.
I said, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to watch the video, and I'm going to sleep on it. And I'm going to have all this feedback that I've gotten, you know, I'm probably gonna get more feedback overnight, which I did, by the way. So thank you to everyone who continuously gave me feedback overnight. All right. And I said, all right, when I wake up in the morning, I'm gonna try to figure this out, what I want to do. So that's what I did. I watched the 20-minute Turkey Tom, I guess it was on his alternate channel, his response video to what I had been saying.
And just to remind you, what DSP has been saying has been pretty much nothing but that he hates the title of the video, which I don't think is actually a critique whatsoever, because not only is the video title accurate, but DSP hasn't actually seen the content of the video at all. So for all he knows, Turkey Tom totally justifies the title of the video in the first 30 seconds, and he just wouldn't know. And of course, that's taking DSP at his word that he hasn't actually seen the documentary already, which I'm actually inclined to believe, considering he was giving Turkey Tom the time of day to even talk to him, and didn't write him off immediately as a detractor, which I think if he would have watched the documentary, he probably would have done, because you know how he is when there's any sort of critique levied at him whatsoever. I mean, you don't even have to critique the guy and he'll immediately fly off the handle and act like you're the second coming of Tevin or something. Shout out the Almighty Egg Gang.
All right. Now, here's what I can tell you. This is the only content of Turkey Tom's I've ever seen. All right. He's a well-spoken individual. He's an intelligent individual. He can formulate coherent thoughts that aren't just dumb, insulting memes. which is already insane amount of points past anyone who would be considered one of my hate watchers or these idiotic memester morons on the internet who literally all they do is misrepresent me all day.
I like to think that we're well-spoken and putting together coherent thoughts over here. And I also think that we don't do the dumb, stupid memes and misrepresent him all day. But hey, if DSP thinks that, he can think that all he wants. There's really nothing I can do about it. I just think it's a little messed up that he'd be putting all of us over here in a bad light, you know?
The guy's leaps and bounds better than them. You know what I'm saying? He's actually like out to tell a story and or his take on a story, and it's entertaining. Like the 20-minute video I found entertaining. I was a little weirded because he was playing Metroid Prime instead of talking. Like, he was talking, but it was Metroid Prime, and I'm like, I don't remember people doing that kind of stuff for ages. Like, people used to do that on YouTube back in the day. People, especially who were camera shy, they would actually have, like, gameplay rolling in the background while they talked over it, and their vlog would be them talking over gameplay. I haven't seen that in ages. Like, that's old shit. Wings of Redemption used to do over a decade ago, and I was like, that's a little weird. That was in the video, and that's just a straight up criticism, but that's not a negative. Like, it's not, the video wasn't horrible. I'm just saying it was weird. Why not be on camera talking if you have something to say rather than show completely unrelated gameplay? That it was actually distracting. I was like, why am I watching Metroid Prime? I don't even understand why this is on the screen. I want to see the person talk about the subject matter. I don't want to watch Metroid Prime. It was very weird. Okay.
And of course, classic DSP can't actually watch anybody else's content without complaining about it first and foremost. Why does it actually matter if he would have been on camera to DSP whatsoever? Is it because he wanted to see what Turkey Tom actually looked like in person? Because I personally don't think that there would have been any benefit to Tom actually being in the video himself. Sitting there and watching somebody talking to a camera isn't exactly the most interesting thing on the planet anyway. So why does it matter what he actually puts on camera? If he wants to put up some video game footage because he does enjoy playing video games and he has footage to put in the background, cool, great, awesome, perfect, fantastic. It works for him. Who is DSP to actually get on stream and critique another person's content when he puts out what he puts out on a daily basis? And he says it was distracting because there was unrelated Metroid Prime footage in the background. DSP, if it's unrelated and you don't care about it, just turn the screen off. You've said before that you pay for YouTube Premium. Why don't you just close your phone and listen to it like it's a podcast or something? And I'm sure plenty of people do that to my videos, and I don't mind because usually there isn't anything going on screen anyway. Except, of course, that fantastic artwork from Darksea to Phil. Shout out Darksea for the artwork, of course. But like I said, if the footage is bothering DSP that much that he thinks it's distracting, just don't look at it if it's unrelated. Who cares?
But hey, there's people who do it all the time, whatever. Essentially what he said in this 20-minute video is, first of all, he defended his stance on naming the video 10 Years of Failure, essentially saying, well, Phil doesn't feel he's a failure. He's in a great mental space. Good for him. And if he doesn't want to be in drama and he's happy, good for him. I'm happy for him. But that doesn't mean that essentially he couldn't have been better, that he couldn't have made better decisions, and that for the last 10 years, he's been on the decline, and I consider that failure.
And that's a totally reasonable take in what people have been saying since he started this whole, oh, the title of the video is not accurate thing.
So really, it's a perspective thing. You know, I don't consider it failure. I would consider it absolutely decline or, like I said, a downward slope. I don't think that it's failure, because failure would be, I'm insanely desperate. I'm going out of business, right? I don't have any other recourse. Everything is falling apart at the seams here, right? So I'm desperate, and I'm doing crazy stunts for money every day, like sucking cucumbers and kissing chickens. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not me. I know I like taking stabs at Review Tech USA because I can't believe he still does that shit. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not the case.
But wasn't that the case when you were doing the Save the House streams or the Pay the Taxes streams? Isn't that what was going on there? Just because you're not actively doing those things anymore doesn't mean that you didn't do it, doesn't mean that your business wasn't falling apart. And everyone around here is well aware that you make 6 figures a year. I don't think you've convinced anyone on this side that you're actually broke. I was actually just talking about this the other day, that if you could just rein in your WWE champion spending, you're doing just fine. You're not actually hurting whatsoever, aside from what you do to yourself from your gambling addiction. That and your alcohol addiction and your DoorDash addiction. But you're not broke the same way that other people are broke, where they just don't have enough money to actually pay their bills at the end of the month because they just don't have enough money. You're broke because you choose to be broke, because you decide to spend all of your money on things that don't actually benefit you whatsoever. Because for some reason, that JPEG dopamine hit is so much more important to you than paying your mortgage.
I'm still someone who's true to myself, makes the content that I enjoy and my viewers enjoy. I have this belief system that I stand by, and I can still do that, and I'm still successful. I'm still operating a successful business. So again, I disagree with him saying it's failure. He thinks that's failure. That's a subjective thing, and he has the right. And he even says, I titled it to try to make it entertaining. I get it. It's called clickbait. You know, it is. It's a clickbait title.
No, titling things to be more enticing and more entertaining to other people is not necessarily clickbait. In order for it to be clickbait, it has to be blatantly untrue and misleading. And that's just not this situation. Because if he is genuinely convinced that you are a failure and that your business has failed, then it's not clickbait whatsoever. He actually means his title. But just like always with DSP, if he doesn't agree 100% with something, instantly it's clickbait. Instantly it's blatantly false information. Just because it doesn't 100% agree with his warped, twisted pig reality.
You want people to watch the documentary, you make it overly dramatic. You have a thumbnail of me insanely close up, like this. Like this is the thumbnail of the video that he makes of me, like this. Like you could see the boogers in my nose, and you could see like, hi, a decade of failure. Hi, how are you?
I love that you can see Doody grab this screenshot for his thumbnail in this video. That's so funny to me.
Right? It's like, I get it. That's YouTube. That's the shtick of YouTube. That's what you do, right? People are like, Jesus, stop. Back up. What? You don't like getting up close and personal with your favorite YouTuber? You don't like that hair? What's in my mouth? Do you like that? Okay, let's relax for a second here. Now we're just being silly, okay? All right. Everyone calm down. Everyone just relax. I got more to say, okay? Okay. So, again, continuing on with the video. There's a few things about the video, this 20-minute video that Turkey Tom made, that sometimes in the video, he says things, and I'm like, wow, that really resonates. That sounds great. And then he'll say something that immediately, like, contradicts it and makes it feel like almost like a red flag. And let me tell you. So, he'll be like, you know, he said to his audience, he wants to keep out of drama, and I respect that, and I get that. If he really is happy in his mental space where he is, and he likes what he's doing, then there's no reason, you know, for him to do anything further, you know. But then he'll say immediately after that, but you know, if he would just watch my 2-hour documentary and do a big live react to it, that would be good content for him. That would be good content for me, because then I could re-react back to his reaction, and then we could do more.
So it's a red flag to DSP that Turkey Tom has some sort of YouTube business sense, right? Because that's essentially what DSP just said. It's a red flag to him that Turkey Tom can see the potential content that could be made between the two of them going back and forth like that. I don't particularly see what's wrong with that. You should be looking at opportunities for yourself to make more content, and specifically make content that people would actually watch. But of course, that's a red flag to DSP. All you have to do is look at the content that he's made over the past 15 years, and you can very clearly see he's not interested in making content that people want. He's not actively looking for opportunities to make content. And that's what's so strange about him. He desperately wants to make this his job and make sure that he can make a living doing this, and then wants to put in no effort and make sure he puts out the bare minimum content possible. It's like wanting to make it onto a professional sports team and then not willing to go to practice whatsoever.
And I was like, I'm listening to it. I'm like, so I get it. What it is there is now a community on YouTube. Okay, it's a vicious circle kind of a deal where someone says something, and it could be innocuous. It could be like a little comment. Someone responds to it. Then someone responds back to it. Then the reaction community watches the statement, the response of the response, and they create the next level of content out of that. And it just becomes this giant circle of spinning content of people all reacting to drama. All right?
I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be drama, though. You can just share your opinion about somebody else's content, and then they can share their opinion on what your opinion was to their content. And it can go in a circle as many times as people really want to watch it, I guess. To say that it necessarily has to be drama is entirely your doing. And that's made very clear if you just put into some sort of other context. If there was band A, and then there was band B, and band B decided that they were going to listen to one of band A's songs and react to it and give their, you know, favorite parts or least favorite parts or whatever, band A could definitely go watch band B's video and then see their reaction and say, oh, I'm really glad that they enjoyed that part, or I'm really upset that they didn't like that. And then if band A wanted to react to one of band B's song, they totally could, and they could do the whole thing all over again. And it would probably be very interesting content for the people who like both of those bands to see them interact with each other and talk about each other's music like that. But DSP is so enveloped in drama all of the time that he can't even fathom reacting to somebody else's content without having something bad to say or turning it into some sort of drama fest.
And you might think, well, that's the healthy YouTube ecosystem, right? That's absolutely what it's all about. because when you do that, you could get more outside eyes on you. You could get some prominence. You could get some people to maybe watch what you're doing, right? It's all good for everybody, okay? Okay, but you have to understand that's only looks like that to the people who are in the inside of it, okay? So I will say this directly to Turkey Tom and others who like this kind of content. All right, I understand there's nothing wrong with you liking that, but you have to understand something. I'm 41 years old, all right? So I've been through a hell of a lot more in my life than most people who are watching this content or even making it, okay?
I mean, only really in a superficial way, in the sense of like he's been around for more years technically. But as far as experiencing actual life, DSP has far less experience in the real world than people about half his age. I mean, he hasn't had a job in 15 years. He only leaves his house once a week. He has actually 0 friends. And the only person that he talks to on a regular basis is his wife. And even then, I'm not honestly convinced that they talk all that much.
I can tell you, from the outside, for people who are not in that vortex, you see it as a spinning circle of content, and it's all healthy, and even though it's dramatic, it's all in good fun, and it's growth, and it's everyone getting views and money, right? For me, I'm outside of it, and I'm looking down on top of all of this, okay? Do you want to know what it looks like to me? It looks like a spinning toilet. It looks like a toilet full of shit, and someone hit the flush, and everyone's just spinning in a big circle in this endless spinning toilet that won't flush. It just keeps getting darker and browner as more people watch and contribute and comment and insult and extrapolate and make it worse and worse and worse. Do you get it?
Of course, it's got to be scat with DSP. I mean, it was either that or the sandwich shop. And at this point, I really don't know which one I'd rather have.
Because for me, when I started on YouTube 15 years ago, all right?
Oh, Jesus Christ, how did we get here? How did we go from a toilet bowl analogy to when I started on YouTube 15 years ago? How? It's crazy how stuck in the past this guy is.
I got into YouTube because it was a hobby, it was something to do. I actually previously had been someone who was traveled a lot and was actually more athletic, and I hurt my back. So I couldn't do that stuff anymore. So instead, I decided that I was going to get back into console gaming, and I just started making these silly commentary videos, raging at games, drinking, getting shit-faced drunk, and just, you know, ranting at games, and they actually blew up.
Yes, DSP, we've heard this story 100 times. At the time, there really wasn't anything like it on YouTube, and people liked it for that reason. And it actually sounded like you were having fun back then. Not that I think that made your content good, and it definitely wasn't for me and never will be, but it was better than what you do now because at least you enjoyed it. But I feel like we talk about this all the time. Why are we here?
In popularity, right? And I didn't expect that, but it certainly wasn't anything that I took seriously. And then over the next 3 to 4 years, the fact that I took this ridiculous, silly attitude of nonchalantly making content, not being professional, and somehow blew up on YouTube, it's a miracle. It's a lucky story. It's a definitely right place, right time kind of a deal, because a million other people have tried to do it after me and failed, but I somehow succeeded. Don't ask me why, or maybe, again, just a lucky dude, right?
And that's always been the case. You've never actually put out any content that was worth anything, and you've never actually earned anything that you've received. It's always been luck for you. It's always been coasting by, doing the bare minimum. And that's why people have so little respect for you and the things that you say.
But in all the years that I made content, all right, 15 years, by the way, that I've been a YouTuber, and out of those 15, 13 years, this has been my job, you'd probably be hard-pressed to watch that content and look and say, oh, in that time frame, Phil's really done horrible, awful things that hurt others here and 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 here.
That's just objectively false, because you definitely can do that. And I'm not going to sit here and go throughout DSP's entire history and point out all of the things that he's done that hurt other people, but we can point to a couple of them at least, because there's many compilations of DSP just being blatantly racist online. Are you going to say that that doesn't hurt other people, DSP? Is that the stance that you want to take right now? I mean, we can talk about how you almost cost Boogie and Wings $50,000 by not doing this show. I would say that probably hurt them in their pocketbook at least, if not them themselves. Or do you want to talk about all of the content creators that you have name dropped throughout the years and talked poorly about, and that has definitely hurt them in some way or another? iJustine, Frederick Knudsen, PewDiePie, Markiplier, Moist Critical, Tevin, Evil AJ, obviously, Toby Turner, LTG, the Side Scrollers, XQC. I mean, DSP, the list goes on. All of these people that you needlessly name drop to try and put yourself over. You're gonna sit there and say that every single one of those occasions didn't hurt somebody? Is that what you really want to say? And that's before we even get into the morally gray areas. Because while DSP isn't directly responsible for whether or not his fans give him money, he's definitely taking advantage of the situation every opportunity that he gets. Constantly crying poor so that people will donate to him, and constantly lying about situations or at least misrepresenting situations so that people are more inclined to support him in general. But don't worry, we can't point at any specific situations here, and here where DSP has specifically hurt other people.
In reality, it's more like Phil did something stupid to hurt himself, right? Phil did this and that was dumb. He didn't change. He didn't adapt. He didn't do the right things early on to stay with the times, right? He idiotically did this, and he streamed for how many years and ignored his live audience. I mean, that's so boneheaded. I know that now, but I didn't understand that back then. I streamed for like 4 years and never spoke to my live audience. What a fucking moronic move, right?
Yeah, that entire time that he streamed without acknowledging his audience was very strange. I mean, it's one of the key factors into streaming is that you now have a live audience that you can talk to and interact with. I don't know in what world he thought that it was a good idea to just pretend that they didn't exist. But I don't really get what that has to do with mistakes that he's made over the past 15 years, because barely anybody ever even talks about that or acknowledges it happening to begin with.
So I get that, okay? But if you look at what I've made, the content that I've done, maybe you could argue early on, when I first started making content, there was some really dumb things I said and did. Because at that point, I didn't understand the power of YouTube. I didn't get that when I said something on YouTube that I had a big audience that listened and actually took that as like truth, because they looked up to me almost like an idol, which is crazy to think, because I never thought of myself as anything important. I just thought I was just a Joe Nobody playing games and dicking around and having fun. And it was a miracle that anyone wanted to watch me or anything like that.
And look, maybe that's a good enough excuse if you have a small YouTube channel and you're just doing your thing and nobody actually cares, right? But DSP had a large audience. He always says himself he was white hot popular. He had prominence. He was going to E3 events. He had a deal with Machinima. He should have realized way sooner that he wasn't just a Joe Nobody playing video games. And regardless, if you have anybody watching your content, it's within your best interest to represent yourself on your content the best you possibly can and continue to make content that they want to see. And I'm not saying that anybody's going to be perfect in doing that, but you can't be as flagrant as DSP was back in the day. That was just irresponsible. And that's why he has nobody to blame but himself in this situation.
But yeah, a lot of the things that I said early on were very irresponsible, and you could be considered toxic and stuff like that.
Wow, I actually didn't know that he was going to say that he was irresponsible. I guess big ups for realizing your own irresponsibility back in the day. It came way too late, but hey, at least you figured it out eventually, I guess. So big ups.
I made an active change in my life to be a better person, to stop making that kind of toxic content, and I feel like I am much better today than I was 15 years ago. And you just take a look, the content's like night and day from what it used to be. And some people say, well, it's more boring. Yeah, but also doesn't hurt anyone. It's not hurtful content, right?
Why do those two things have to go hand in hand for you though, DSP? Why can you not make content that entertains people and also not hurt people at the exact same time? Plenty of other content creators can do that. It's not exactly an unheard of thing to just be entertaining in and of itself without having to hurt other people. And I know that's rich coming from me, but shut up, we're not talking about me.
I, every night, can go to sleep and say, I had a good day today. I loved the game I played. I interacted with my audience. We had great conversation. Hey, I made money. I supported my family. And I go to sleep soundly. As opposed to, oh, well, what did I do today? Well, someone had a really bad day. This drama happened and they did something stupid. So I made a video about it, and I just basically, ripped them a new asshole for 2 hours. And then everyone came to my stream. We all made fun of them. And it was great because everyone laughed at them and their misfortunes. And I made a bunch of money. There's a little difference there between the styles of content. Do you understand?
I mean, there's definitely a difference there in the style of content, but this whole being able to go to sleep soundly at night thing, it doesn't go that deep, man. I think you take the internet way too personally. You're way too invested in it, and I understand that that's where your business is and that's where you make your livelihood. But at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of people on the internet, is it not? If you always say that you're so happy with just having your audience and they support you and they like the content. So why are you constantly doing segments like this where you have to justify to everybody in your audience that you don't want to do drama content while continuously doing drama content? If you're nearly as happy as you say you are, then why don't you just go be happy and leave everything alone?
And again, if you're in the YouTube vortex of that spinning content creation cycle, maybe you think there's nothing wrong with that. But for people outside of it, we look into it and we're like, what the hell? People think that's acceptable? People behave like that? Why would you want to be a part of that shit? Why would you ever want to get sucked into that stuff? Okay?
And DSP acts as if he's talking for other people when he says these things, because he specifically says people outside of that, meaning multiple, not just him, behave like this. They wonder why you want to get into that kind of community and be interested in those lolcows and things. But this is where I think it's important that we acknowledge that DSP does not interact with any other normal human being on the planet. And when I say interact, I mean actually interact, like talk to and discuss real topics with, not just like talk to the guy behind the cash register when he's checking out at the grocery store or whatever. Because the only person that he talks to regularly is his wife. So obviously she's going to agree with him, and she's kind of in the same situation with him, being that they're together. So she's going to have a warped perspective on the entire thing anyway. But me, having been in the real world and talking to regular people on a daily basis, people that I work with, people out in public, I understand that people find drama interesting. I understand that people like to see a little carnage. It's totally normal for people to be interested in other people's drama so long as it's not their own. That's the reason that reality television shows exist that revolve entirely around a bunch of women doing drama and fighting each other. Because it's a spectacle that people like to dip their toes in every once in a while because they find it interesting. But DSP is too close to the source material to actually understand what the interest could possibly be. And he doesn't talk to other people to get an outside perspective.
Allow me to tell you a story. And I have never told this story publicly before. I will tell this story to everyone right now publicly because I think this actually is very appropriate to the situation.
Strap in, folks. It's time for another Grandpa Story segment with your host, DSP Space Gaming.
All right. Last year, before all this drama with the Lol Cow podcast, okay, I was friendly with Boogie. Over the years, we had had a few conversations behind the scenes, back and forth. Not long conversations, very short ones, brief ones, a little, you know, how you doing? Hope you're doing all right, or whatever, back and forth, like Twitter DMs and shit like that, right? Okay, and one of the conversations that we had was about particularly working together on something. And at this point, there was a situation where we were talking early on about this Lol Cow podcast and the possibility and stuff like that, right?
Is he insinuating that this was before Keemstar came up with the idea and that he tried to steal it? Is this him trying to say that this was an original idea that him and Boogie had come up with? Because that's just not how the timeline goes.
And I'm going to paraphrase it. All right, I'm not going to sit here and read the direct DMs I had with Boogie. This was over a year ago. So again, this was before any of the drama of this year or anything like that.
Classic DSP move. Obviously, don't quote anybody and instead just misrepresent them in his horrible paraphrasing. Because he has specifically stated before that he thinks it's more disrespectful to actually quote somebody instead of just paraphrasing them. Even though his paraphrasing is always a huge misrepresentation of what they said.
But basically, the conversation we had, and this, I really feel, this is the difference between myself and the other people who people consider lolcows, all right?
Oh, Jesus Christ, now he's gonna tell us about how unique and different and special he is. I swear to God, this dude talks about like 5 things on a loop every single day. I mean, we already did the 15 years ago when I started on YouTube talk, and now we're getting the I'm special and unique talk. If he just follows this up with the schedule segment, that's like half the pre-stream done already.
When you look at the Wings of Redemptions, when you look at the Boogies, and you look at these people, all right? Here's the difference between me and them. All right, and this is what you're going to understand. It's a lot different. As we're having this conversation, we're talking about the possibility of working with Keemstar on a podcast or whatever, right? So basically, Boogie said something to the effect, and by the way, I think this stream is about to play ads. No, I'm telling a story. I'm going to skip to ads, okay?
Damn, he got firsthand experience understanding the problem with running automatic ads on your stream. Of course, he won't actually remember this experience whatsoever and learn anything from it like I was talking about earlier in the video. He's just going to continue to run his automatic ads every other day and act like this never happened and was never an inconvenience that anybody would ever actually have. Sound good? Sounds good to me. And by the way, categories.
Basically, the way he equated, I know this is weird because I didn't bring this up, he did. Boogie actually said something to the effect of the way he sees YouTube or how YouTube is kind of like Walmart, all right? So let's think about that. It's kind of like Walmart. Well, Walmart, everyone knows, is a pretty bad business, right? Walmart comes into town with the lowest prices, the lowest cost for their products, and when a Walmart comes to town, they sweep in and they take over. They could cause all the small businesses in a town to go completely out of business, all right? They, sadly, underpay and mistreat their employees. It's well documented that they do this, okay? And the employees are overworked, underpaid, not trained, right? They'll have someone who's a door greeter who's an elderly person. This is their job. This is great. They have a living. Oh, you're fired. We don't need you anymore. Why? What did I do? You didn't do anything wrong. We just don't want to pay you anymore. Bye. Right? This is how they are. This is their company.
This is not me in any way defending Walmart, but I'm going to have to ask for sources on all of this because DSP is 100% pulling this out of his ass. I'd honestly be surprised if he even knew anybody who worked at a Walmart, like actually ever. Or is he just remembering some headline that he saw on Twitter years ago and he just took it as fact right then and there? And again, not a defense of Walmart whatsoever, but DSP never has any actual idea what he's talking about.
And there's countless stories of Walmart being a bad company in this regard. Now, Walmart is a fine company. They don't break laws. They do everything law-abiding, and, you know, they're on the up and up. But, man, when they come in, they can completely wipe clean a small town, and now the whole town's focused on the Walmart, right?
I'm convinced that all of his information that he has on Walmart is from that episode of South Park back in the day. You know, the Walmart episode. I think that's the extent of his knowledge on how Walmarts come into towns and then take all of the jobs from the locals. And there's nothing obviously wrong with watching South Park, but I don't think it's a good idea to try and get accurate information from it that you're going to regurgitate to your audience years down the road.
Now, you could argue positives and negatives about that, right? So basically, Boogie said this to me. Again, I'm paraphrasing, and he said something like, you know, when you look at people like working with Keemstar or working with other people on YouTube, this drama content on YouTube, he says, you know, you look at it like Walmart. Like, you know, Walmart has a ton of blood on their hands, but you still shop there, right? Because it benefits you. It's the best benefit to you and your family. The lowest prices, right? You get decent quality products, the lowest prices. Everyone still shops there, despite the fact you know this is not a great company. You still kind of just do it. You bite the bullet, right?
I mean, that's like a ton of companies in the US. It's not Walmart specific. I mean, you could point that same finger at Amazon. They have the best prices. They have all of the products. They'll ship them directly to your door in one day. Is it the best for local businesses? Obviously not. It's put a lot of people out of business completely. I feel like that's kind of the story for every large brand. Again, not Walmart specific.
And he said that to me. Because again, we were having a conversation about the possibility of working together and stuff like that. I said, Boogie, I want you to understand something. I don't shop at Walmart. I never have.
Yeah, Boogie, don't you know? That's where the poor shop. DSP shops exclusively online, and yes, that includes his medication. It all comes through Amazon, because obviously he's not willing to leave his gated community. There's pores out there, you know? What an entitled prick to sit here and act like he's better than other people because he doesn't shop at Walmart. It just shows you how out of touch with the normal person he actually is. That he thinks he's standing on some moral high ground because he doesn't shop at Walmart.
In my entire life, I've shopped at Walmart once. And it was at the height of the popularity of Street Fighter 4. They were the only store that had Street Fighter 4 joysticks. And at that time, I was buying and modding joysticks to sell on the internet as a project. So I had to buy it from them. They were the only company available to buy them from. And by the way, the one experience I had at Walmart was the worst I've ever had. I was supposed to go and pick up these joysticks and just bring them right home. I pre-ordered them online. They were there supposedly in stock. Just go, pay, pick it up, gone. I go there and I spent over 2 hours at Walmart to pick up these joysticks because they were understaffed. The person who works the pickup counter was not there that day. They had no idea where they were. They just didn't show up for work. None of the management actually knew how to run the pickup counter. They had employees running around the store like chickens with their heads cut off. No one knew anything. It took the employee 2 hours as they scoured the warehouse to find the joysticks and finally give them to me so I could go home. Okay?
I'm not quite sure what this Walmart story actually had to do with him talking to Boogie other than that Boogie name dropped Walmart. But leave it to DSP to talk about the one negative experience he had with a company and act like it was the end all be all to the company. Yeah, DSP, your experience with Walmart back in what, 2010 is exactly what every other Walmart is like all over the continental United States, of course.
So, here's the deal. I don't like Walmart because I know that they're a scumbag company. I know that they mistreat their employees. I know that they don't pay enough. I know that they ruin the towns they move into. They have absolutely no regard for anything around them. All they care about is that they're making money. That's it. They don't give two shits. And when a Walmart moves in, that town now is beholden to Walmart. What do? All our other businesses went out of business because they can't compete with the prices of Walmart. Now we got to shop at Walmart, and there's nothing we can do about it. So now it's a Walmart town, right?
Okay, DSP, you win. I'll agree. Sure, it's a Walmart town. I don't care anymore. Can we move on? Can we quit talking about Walmart as if it actually matters? This is something that he does. He just wears on a subject over and over and over again, and he loops back around to tell you the same information. Almost as if to actually just break you down and just have you do exactly what I did. Okay, I don't care anymore. Sure, DSP, go ahead.
That's YouTube, in a nutshell. That's literally YouTube. And that's this lolcow culture on YouTube. What you found is you found people who are so desperate, right? They need to make money in some way. They can't just operate anymore and have a life on YouTube for some reason. Maybe they, their popularity has waned. Maybe they just made a ton of mistakes or whatever. And the only way that they can get attention on YouTube is by creating drama. So what they do is they create the drama. They know the drama's toxic. They know that it's harmful. They know that it's not good, but that's the only way that they can get by.
See, and this is where I think that DSP fundamentally just doesn't understand lolcows. Because so many lolcows don't actually understand why people are interested in them and instead just continue to do the hijinks that they usually do, and that's what people find entertaining. Because I feel personally like it's a primary trait for lolcows to not have any ability for self-reflection. So they don't understand why the things that they do are bringing the ire of a community. They don't understand what's wrong with the things that they're doing. They just continue to do the things that they always do, and people just shit on them for it. And while DSP likes to feign intelligence and act like he has a higher understanding of these things, him doing this segment is proving exactly that. Because he lacks the self-awareness and self-reflection that it takes to understand that these are the segments that the people who enjoy lolcows are looking for. I mean, it's these style segments specifically. It's an hour-long rant where he's name-dropping several content creators and just being, in general, toxic. So while yes, some lolcows are self-aware and do these things specifically to continue to get the attention that they crave, there's also quite a few that just don't get it whatsoever. And to me, that's so much more interesting. That's why people like Boogie, who are trying to cash in on being a lolcow and being essentially a victim of lolcow culture, is not necessarily as interesting as someone like DSP, who swears to God that he's not a lolcow and never does anything of the sort, but very clearly does. And maybe that's not entirely true. Maybe I'm off base a little bit. I can only speak from my experience and what I find interesting about people like DSP. But it's strange for him to sit here and act like he understands anything about lolcow culture whatsoever when he's just too close to the source material.
So they sit there and they create drama. And then everyone else sits outside and says, ha, now we capitalize and we jump on this and we make 2-hour documentaries and we do podcasts about them and we slam them and we rip them a new butthole and we constantly make fun of them and we meme on them and we milk them. Milk them. I want you to think about that statement, because this is coming full circle now. As I was watching Turkey Tom's 20-minute response video about me, okay, he distinctly said 2 things in the video, all right, that resonated with me overnight as I slept on it. And the first he said was, I wish he would watch my documentary so he could react to it, I could react to his reaction, and then he would come on the Lolcow podcast, or the Lolcast, or whatever the fuck it's even called. I don't know, because they had to change the name because they're so stupid. They made a show that they couldn't even use the name of, and now they had to change it. I don't give a fuck what it's actually called anymore.
Okay, that was a weird little toxic tangent that you had to go on right there. Stop doing that. That's obnoxious as hell. If you don't care, then don't talk about it.
So literally, the reason he wants me to watch his documentary is for more content for himself. Do you understand?
Yes, because Tom understands the very basics that he is supposed to be finding and creating content that his audience wants to see. And I'm not honestly surprised that DSP doesn't understand this, because I can say it till I'm blue in the face, DSP does not understand that he's supposed to be making content that people actually want to see. He has a very warped perception on what exactly he's supposed to be doing to earn the support of his audience. And it's very telling that DSP is threatened by somebody who can see the potential content that they would get out of just talking to him. Imagine going to a car dealership and then expecting every single car salesman to not try and sell you a car. Like, at some level, you have to understand that that's their job. That's what they get paid for. You really can't fault Tom for trying to work an opportunity in so that everybody can get paid. Because it wouldn't just be Tom getting paid. DSP would clearly see an influx of viewers. He would clearly see an influx of eyes on his streams. Whether or not that specifically translates to money for DSP, I don't know. That's entirely up to him.
He admits it right there in the video. He says it. And then he says at the end of the video, well, you know, unless Phil decides to actually do this interview with me, I think I'm done milking him. Milking him. I want you to, again, think about that.
Is this just going to be DSP getting hung up on another word? I don't know why he insists on playing semantics with every single word that everybody else uses. But if you were to ever do something like that to him and actually hold him to the words that he uses, automatically you're the devil. You're the worst detractor on the planet, obviously.
All right? And then I started to read into what people were saying about Tom and or other things going on, and I started reading messages. And basically, here's the information that I got overnight. Are you aware that Turkey Tom is part of this lolcow culture and lolcow cast? I didn't know that. I don't watch it. I'm not paying attention to it.
Yes, and that's why it's important that you do research on the people that you're potentially going to be working with. You should have been well aware of what Turkey Tom was involved with before you ever even let his name leave your mouth. Because why would you want to continuously bring up somebody that is going to be a detriment to your community, is going to be a detriment to your image by associating with them? And I'm not saying that that's what Turkey Tom is, because Turkey Tom makes better content than you do. But obviously you don't share the same values. Obviously you're not interested in making the same content, and you would not want to be associated with him. But you didn't look into him whatsoever. You just kept asking your audience to tell you what they think because they know him better than you. But it's not their image on the line. It's not their content that it's going to affect. It's not their community that it's going to affect. It's yours, and yours alone.
Oh yeah, he's called one of the lolcow farmers. Him and Mudahar and others, they're showing up to every show, and they're not highlighted like lolcows. They're highlighted like big shots, right? They come to the show in order to basically degrade the subjects of the show, which at this point I guess is Boogie and Wings and whoever this other person is who was my replacement, because I didn't do the show, even though you can't replace someone who never agreed to do the show. But whoever they are, I guess, right? They're basically, it's like a shooting gallery. Like, here's the people who are supposed to be the hosts, but in reality, they're just the targets of ridicule and toxic behavior. Again, they're just people shooting down at them. That's the show. That's apparently what this show is. And Turkey Tom is one of these people who essentially, oh yeah, you see, we're better than them, so it's time for us to shoot down at them and basically insult them and do this kind of fucked up stuff to them constantly.
DSP is talking really in depth about a show that he apparently has never seen. I actually watched the first episode of lolcow Live, and the farmers were never brought into the show at all. I haven't seen the other 2 episodes that have been released as of this day, but just skimming through them, they're not ever actually on the show at the same time. So I'm not quite sure what the dynamic is, but I don't know if what DSP is saying is entirely accurate. But again, he's talking very specifically about something that he claims he's never seen and doesn't actually know about. So again, just talking out of his ass as always.
All right? And for what I'm under, and again, I'm not watching this show. I have nothing to do with it. I want nothing to do with it. But people contact me. People actually contacted me this week and said, Phil, you have no idea. You made the absolutely, positively, 100% correct decision to not work with Keemstar and be on that show. You predicted it completely correctly. This was not a show where it was going to be the host talking about topics intelligently, respectfully. It's literally the ridicule those people show. That's the whole point. And it's just gross. It's toxic. It's insulting. From what I'm to understand, they're being degraded to the point where I guess Boogie was forced to get on his hands and knees and apologize to Keemstar because he went on someone else's show and there was drama, and he's like, you should have done that on our show to make us money. Now apologize to me that you did this because you're so stupid. And he did it apparently.
Yes, and that whole thing was really cringe. And while I can imagine that Keemstar was genuinely upset with Boogie for hashing out beef on somebody else's show and that's content they could have used to make money, the entire getting on his hands and knees and apologizing to people, I'm pretty sure was them just playing into the fact that there was beef going on and, again, trying to make some money. And this is not me trying to defend that behavior whatsoever because, like I said, it's honestly really cringe. I'm just trying to provide context to something that people may or may not have seen. And of course, I don't have any confirmation that they were just playing into it and that it wasn't 100% real. It's just kind of too absurd to be anything but an act. But even if it's not, my opinion of Boogie really hasn't changed any because I don't have a great opinion of him to begin with.
Right? Now, again, I didn't see any of this. This is people telling me this. And I'm like, you imagine? That's what people want to be involved in? You think this is valid content on YouTube and the internet to literally just be a bullying group? I mean, it should really be called We Bully People Podcast. That's all it is. The bullying podcast. We just bully people all day like it's a fucking schoolyard of people beating down on people. That's what the show is, right?
Yeah, maybe, I guess, if that's your perspective, but I don't think that's a very good name at all. DSP, you're definitely a lot of things, but an intelligent marketer, I don't think so. You might just want to stick to chewing your water and snorting into the microphone.
So, thank God I'm not involved. Yeah, because I told you guys, I knew. I'm not stupid. I'm wise to this shit. When you tell me that the name of the show is the lolcow show or the lolcow podcast, there's no respect. There's no intention of actually helping people or doing something positive. That's a toxic show. That's the point. From the day it was incepted, I knew that was the point. You know, that's why I want nothing to do with it.
Yes, DSP, you're not stupid. Because every smart individual would obviously provide them tons of free content instead of actually being involved on the ground level and being paid for your content. Because even if you're not directly involved with what they do on LolCow Live, you are feeding into this drama and you are going to make other people money. And unfortunately for you, doing it in this manner is probably not gonna net you very much money. So you're really playing yourself at the end of the day. If you really didn't want to be involved in it and you didn't want to be paid for it, then just don't engage. But instead, you're not involved with it whatsoever. You're not being paid for it, and you're still giving people content. You're still going on these drama rants. You're still putting everybody else's name in your mouth, giving them a reason to talk about you.
I'm so here, and again, here's the difference. Boogie and Wings, they shop at Walmart, right? Anything to get ahead, anything to make a buck, anything to fucking get them to a position where they're doing something because they need that, right? I don't need that. I'm successful. I have a business. I'm good. People come and watch my content. They enjoy my content. They support my content.
But that's definitely not how it sounds when you get on stream every day, because you're constantly going on about needing more tips, needing more members, you didn't hit your goals, constantly asking for more and more support. But of course, now that it fits your narrative, you're doing fine. The business is successful. Everyone is supporting as much as they need to be for you to continue to do the things that you want to do. But every other day when it's convenient for you to cry poor so that you can continue to make more money and get more support, you absolutely will.
I do positive content all day. I don't do this lolcow shit. People try to pull me into their spinning vortex of drama shit. So, but I stay out of it. So why would I want to be involved in a show like that? I'd be a moron, right? And if anything, this is right now representative if you're here every day on my show and you're watching my content and you're enjoying everything that I'm doing.
He was describing me all the way up until the end where he talks about actually enjoying the content. But I'm definitely here every day and I'm watching the content.
Is this not evidence that you don't have to be sucked into a toxic vortex of crap on YouTube to be successful? Is this not evidence that you can stand alone and stand apart from all that crap and you can still be happy? Right? I'm not in a desperate situation where I have to milk a situation because someone made a 2-hour documentary about me. I don't have to now react to it to get some kind of boost in views so I can make money today. I can still do my content that I absolutely love making and still make a living.
Yes, and you would be doing the typical DSP thing of not taking advantage of any opportunity that's laid before you, and instead squandering that opportunity and spitting in its face when you do it.
And I don't have to degrade myself down to that level of crap that I feel is very harmful. And it's okay if people disagree because obviously there's a huge group of people out there that disagree and think that this is fine. Good for you. Well, there's some of us who are older and more mature for that shit, and we don't care for that. I certainly don't.
It's absolutely ignorant to imply that being older and quote-unquote more mature than other people is why you're not into lolcow culture. There's plenty of old heads in lolcow communities. Let's not sit here and act like age is actually any sort of factor in this. And he says that it's okay if you disagree and think that lolcows and lolcow communities are fine. But did he not just spend the last 23 minutes explaining to us why that's not okay? Is he not going to continue to tell us what's wrong with lolcow culture and why it's not okay? This is just him pretending to be mature. He thinks that by simply saying that it's okay to disagree, that he has the right to just shit on everything that anybody else enjoys.
I never wanted to be involved with that level of shit. My involvement with Boogie and Wings was going to be a positive podcast where we talk, we interact, we have good topics about things. Maybe talk about our lives, our personal situations. You can talk about current events in the news and everything. Dude, I do this every day on my own show. Do you think it would be that hard to do it with 2 other people who we just talk?
But do you really in your heart of hearts think that this is a positive pre-stream that you do every single day? I mean, this is a prime example of it not being that. I mean, you spend an hour name dropping other content creators and talking negatively about drama the entire time. And this is a frequent occurrence on your pre-stream at least once a week, if not more. It's like you're the only person who doesn't actually know what kind of content that you make.
It would be an easy show to do. And by the way, it wouldn't be toxic. It would be fun to do. And everyone else out there could react to the show and do their own toxic shit about it. And I'm sure they would.
Oh, they definitely would, and there's no doubt about that. Especially if you're their DSP, because you're King Lolcow. Anything that you do is pretty much worth talking about exclusively to make fun of you.
But at least the core show would be great, and it would be good for our viewer bases and our communities and our audiences. That's what I wanted to do. But apparently, this is more important than that, right? Taking this big paycheck to be on this toxic-ass show where it's a bunch of bullies and a shooting gallery is more important than actually doing something positive for the internet, positive for your audience. You know what I'm saying?
Well, DSP, I struggle to actually recall anything that you've done positive for your audience, let alone the internet as a whole. And it's not shocking to me whatsoever that people who get paid to talk online have instead decided to take a bigger payday than working with your bum ass. Because you've shown through your 15 years on the internet that working with you in any capacity is a detriment to everybody involved.
You tell me that anyone in their right mind would think that that's okay. I'm sorry, but anyone who's involved in this lolcow culture shit, you got to get yourself fucking reassessed at a fucking professional.
And of course, DSP's got a default to you having to be absolutely insane to laugh at people on the internet now. That's just an idiotic take that only a buffoon like DSP would really say out loud.
I dare you to go to a medical professional, a psychiatrist. Tell them you sit on the internet and all you do is you bully people or you laugh at other people bullying people. And you watch degrading content about people who you think are pathetic, and this is your actual source of enjoyment. Tell me tell me what a medical professional would say in response to that. I would love to hear it.
While I highly doubt that a medical professional would actually give a shit whether or not you laugh at people on the internet, I'm sure they would be very interested in talking to DSP about his multiple addictions. They're probably very interested in talking about pulling Hogan's and drinking gin. So why don't you try your own challenge, DSP? Why don't you go talk to a medical professional and tell him that you spent more than your mortgage in a year pulling JPEGs on a mobile game? Why don't you go tell them how much you spent at Total Wine over a year? I'm sure that's a conversation that they would much rather have.
Because there's a difference between, oh, there's some celebrity gossip, or, oh no, my entire source of entertainment is actually when other people get harmed, or we bully people, we degrade them. It's fucked up, all right?
And while I'll acknowledge some of this can be harmful, some of this can be bullying, it's not always that. There's so much of this style of content on the internet, and in that there's so many accurate and valid criticisms of these people like DSP.
So I watch a 20-minute video from Turkey Tom. It's my only content of his I've ever watched. And I find the guy's well-spoken, he's charismatic, he's intelligent, he can make a point well.
All things that you are not or can't do. And I think that's a valid criticism, goddammit. You know who we're dealing with here.
I disagree with him on the point of the fact that he thinks that I've had 10 years of failure, and that's okay. We can have that subjective disagreement and agree to disagree. But the moment that he says, oh, you see, I just wish he would react to the documentary because that would give me more content. Then I could talk about it on the LOLcast, or he can come on the podcast, and then we have even more content to make. And then I can milk him further, but for now I'm done milking him, all right? That's fucking disgusting. That's not even like a joke. That's not funny. That's fucking vile, all right? That's toxic. That's harmful. That's fucked up.
And that's also just a phrase, DSP. Just like you're milking this segment right now talking about Tom, him continuously talking about you and trying to get an interview with you would be him milking content out of you. Whether or not that's the wordage that you would use is entirely irrelevant. So you can clutch your pearls all you want and talk about how it's disgusting to talk about milking somebody for content, but at the end of the day, I think that you're the one who looks foolish for this behavior. All you had to say was you weren't interested after you learned the things that you learned about him. You didn't have to grandstand and act like you're morally superior to everybody because you aren't interested in the same things that other people are interested in.
And the fact that you can just nonchalantly say something like that, oh yeah, I'm done milking someone today. I want you to know how disgusting that sounds. You're milking a human, okay? Not even for sus, you're not milking them for milk, you're milking them for profits, for money. And every time you do that, you hurt them. But you don't care. There's no quality, no moral compass here. Who cares, right?
I mean, saying that you're milking something doesn't necessarily have a negative connotation to it. I mean, maybe it does in this instance, specifically talking about DSP, because everything involving him has a negative connotation to it, obviously. But saying that you're gonna milk something is basically just saying that you're gonna take advantage of a situation, you're gonna utilize it. And I know that DSP is anti-popularity and anti-benefiting his business whatsoever, but I don't think that most content creators share that same mindset. And is DSP gonna give no credit to Tom whatsoever for actually saying out loud, yeah, unless DSP wants to do something, I'm not gonna milk him anymore. This isn't worth my time. I don't want to keep doing this. He can go do his own thing. Does he get no credit for that from you, DSP?
You're dehumanizing the person. You're literally categorizing them as an animal, not a human. You've degraded them to the point that they're just cattle, all right? That's really fucked up. It is. It's completely messed up. I can't believe people think that's okay. Right? When you're watching that lolcow show and you're seeing people who are supposed to be, oh, we're better than them and we're just going to bully them. What makes you better than them? Exactly. What makes you better than them? Because you're toxic? Because you're okay with bullying people on the internet? You have no morals or values? That makes you better than them?
Man, if I had just heard that last part, I'd think that DSP was describing himself. Because DSP is the one who's toxic. DSP is the one who's okay with bullying people on the internet. DSP is the one who has no morals or values as long as he can make more money. That's him. And that's why anybody who has ever worked with him in the past has come out worse for it, because DSP will cut your throat to get another dollar. And sometimes not even to get another dollar, but just to make himself come out looking slightly better than he would have otherwise. But even then that backfires on him regardless. So it's actually for nothing at the end of the day.
Because you have an association with someone like Keemstar, who's pretty much the worst of the worst when it comes to that kind of behavior. I mean, what makes you think, Turkey Tom, what makes you think you're better than me? That you milk me for content, right? And the funny part about all that is, it could easily be reciprocated. Someone could do that to Tom, someone could do that to Mudahar, someone could do this. They have done it to Keemstar, actually, and Keemstar ain't happy about it. Remember the H3H3 beef that he had, and when he got roasted on his fucking balls? He hated that shit, man. He was so upset that someone would criticize him the same way that he's criticized everybody else on the internet, right? It could easily be flipped.
I'm going to be honest, I have no idea what DSP is actually talking about when he's talking about Keemstar and H3H3 having beef on a podcast. I do think it's strange that he specifically mentioned that he was getting his balls roasted, though. I've never heard anyone say it like that. Feet held to the fire, I totally get. Held accountable for their actions, 100%. But balls roasted? I don't know, man.
But the thing is, you'll look for the easy targets, right? If you already find someone like a Boogie or a Wings or a DSP, and you find someone who's already the subject of ridicule, and you just keep ridiculing them, well, no one's going to care when they flip that on you, right? Right now, if I sat here and I made an hour roast of Turkey Tom, no one would care, because I'm the lolcow, right?
I don't think it has anything to do with you being a lolcow, though. People just wouldn't care because your criticisms aren't worth anything. They're just not valid. Because you in every way are just so much more detestable. And I'm not going to sit here and run down all of the character traits about DSP that people don't like about him. But it's really all about how you conduct yourself and how people perceive you, DSP. And unfortunately, you conduct yourself horribly and everybody perceives you as such.
The thing is, I have no interest in that. I have no interest in researching the guy, finding out what failures he's had over the years. I don't care about what his interests are, what his mistakes are, and I don't care to make a toxic video about him to make money or profits.
Yes, you clearly don't care enough to make a toxic video for money and profits. Instead, you've decided to make a toxic video for free. Isn't that something? Isn't that the better of the two options? Because instead of doing this hour-long rant hating on Turkey Tom, you could have just watched his documentary and got support off of it on the React channel and maybe even got some members and got new eyes on your channel and then just moved on with your business. But instead, you've decided to address the entire thing on your level 1 pre-stream in this long rant format. Where of course the only people that are actually gonna give a shit are people like me. And you don't even get a view off of people like me because we all watch the clip channels.
That's not me. You know what I want to do? I want to sit here with my audience, and I want to have fun, and I want to relax, and I want to enjoy video games, which is the whole point of why I started making content 15 years ago. And I want that to continue. I want that positivity and that fun and that safe, interesting environment to continue. So that way, every day when I turn my stream off, I said, I just had a good day. We enjoyed games. We had fun conversation. I made a living. Everyone's happy. No one's hurt.
Then quit talking, quit doing this segment and go play your games, DSP. If that's what you really want, if you really want to just play games with your audience every single day, quit doing segments like these. It really is that simple. They say that actions speak louder than words for a reason.
Until you can do that, you have failed. All right? So every moment that you're going to say 10 years of failure, dark side Phil. No. I'm happy and successful being who I am, and I don't hurt anyone when I make my content. Do you understand? That's success.
So DSP has resorted to doing the very thing that he hated the most about the Turkey Tom documentary, which is subjectively defining what failure means and then calling him that. Amazing. DSP really is so quick to become the very thing that he hates.
The failure is if the only way that you can be successful in life is to step on others, to bully others, to push them down under your heel of your boot. And you have absolutely no conscience to tell you that that's bad. If that's the situation you're in and that's your level of success, I want nothing to do with your level of success. And I wish you the best. You go ahead, you do what you want, you enjoy your bully show, and you beat up people for a living on the internet. But I'm going to issue a word of warning.
Oh, I'm shaking in my boots. DSP's about to issue a word of warning. This totally isn't going to be vaguely threatening at all.
All right? A very harsh word of warning. And I want you to understand this is not coming from me because I'm well adjusted and I'm a good person and I feel that ultimately I'm happy where I am. All right?
Well, if this isn't coming from you, then who the hell is it coming from, DSP? Because you're the only person on screen. You're the only voice I hear. You specifically said that you're going to issue a word of warning and then said that it wasn't coming from you. Who the hell is it coming from?
I want all these people who feel like they're safe in their vortex of drama to be very careful, okay? I really feel like people need to start wising up, all right? And here's why I say this. Because we've already seen situations where people who've been bullied have gone crazy. We've seen this. It's documented, okay? And it's only a matter of time that if you think you feel safe doing this kind of content, this messed up, toxic, really harmful content, and you think that it's good, right? Oh, this is fine because everyone makes out. It's money. It's Walmart. Everyone accepts Walmart, okay?
Jesus Christ, he can't let go of the Walmart thing, can he? Boogie, I'm blaming you for this. Mods, if you ever see Boogie in chat, it's been on site for this entire Walmart thing.
It's just a matter of time until someone snaps. And I'm actually worried that one of these days, and I'm not saying it's going to be Tom, I'm not saying it's going to be Keemstar, I'm not saying who it's going to be. Someone's going to make a documentary about someone. It's going to be the wrong person. And that person's going to fucking lose it, man.
Again, vaguely threatening coming from DSP, especially the part where he says, I'm not saying who it's going to be. Like, he knows, he's just not saying. And I know that that is not actually what he's trying to do. But this is one of those times where he has to be more aware of what he's saying and how it's coming across to other people.
And that's going to be, you know, and whether it's self-harm or harm of others or whatever I'm saying, you know, that's dangerous shit. You're treading. You're fucking with people's minds. You're fucking with people's brains and emotions of people who probably already aren't well adjusted. Especially some of these stories that you've told and shit. You know what I'm saying? This is dangerous shit you're dealing with. And I think what it is people are in this culture where they just think everything's fine, everything's fair, everything's safe, everything's okay, because it's all accepted on YouTube. You're right?
He's not talking about me because I don't derive my moral compass from the YouTube guidelines. I don't honestly know anybody that does, but those people specifically are who he's talking about right now. So screw them, I guess. I don't know.
All right, listen. It's legal, right? It's legal. You can do it, but you gotta be careful. You know, there's a difference between I made a documentary and it was even-handed and fair, or I made a documentary, but I really hope someone responds to it so that I can milk them for content and dehumanize them constantly, endlessly, so we can all get all over on it. It's like, what? Do you not see the difference between that? And it's gonna come to a point, it really is gonna come to a point where someone's gonna snap. And I tell you right, it ain't gonna be me. I'm happy. I'm good, man. Like I said, I'm good. I'm in a good situation. I have a great family life, thankfully, right? I've had times in my life in the past where things were awful. Things are good.
Very weird body language when he's talking about somebody coming to a point where they snap and then him denying that it's going to be him. The constantly looking around, shaking his head, kind of laughing under his breath. Very suspicious. It's almost like at this point he's realized what he's saying is coming across like it is. But of course it couldn't be him, dude, because he's got a family now, thank God. But if he didn't have that family, so help him God.
You know, I just got to stay my course and not make the same mistakes that I made in the past. And just keep going the way I'm going, and hopefully things will go well for me in the future, right? But you know, after getting all this feedback and everything, and seriously like weighing this situation of how it's going, I'm like, I didn't know anything about this Lol Cow show or anything. I had no idea what it really was. I had an idea of what it was going to be. That's why I wanted to know. It's nothing to do with it. But when people started telling me what it was, I was like, do they not get it? Like, do they not understand what they're doing? Like, you are trying to normalize fucked up bullying behavior. You're trying to say that's fine, that's okay to beat up people for profit.
Okay, Mr. Exaggeration, nobody is being literally beat up for profit. That's not what's happening here. You take the internet way too seriously. You need to go outside and breathe some fresh air once in a while. You might want to start leaving the house twice a week instead of once a week. It might do you some good.
That's not okay. In no case is it ever okay. All right? And it doesn't matter if it's illegal and people get away with it. It's still wrong. All right? Now, maybe that's me because I grew up Roman Catholic. I was raised in a certain household, a certain kind of moral values or whatever.
It's so awful when he feigns religious values as a defense. DSP's the fakest Roman Catholic on this planet. He looked no further than when he was on camera telling people that he knew the basics of the religion and then proceeded to say, like Jesus or whoever. I'm not even religious, and that honestly sounds a little disrespectful, doesn't it? That's before we take into consideration all of the other awful things that he's done in the past 15 years that we know about.
But to me, when you tell me that, you know what I'm saying? And again, they think they're protected. They're not. At any moment, and I learned this the hard way, right? You think that you're protected in life and you think that everything's okay, and in a moment's notice, something could flip on its head, right? One day you're going to be doing a documentary on Joe Blow from Hoboken, New Jersey, and how he did something stupid on the internet, and you don't know how he's going to react to it. All right? And that's, I mean, you got to be so fucking careful, man. This is wild that you to think. And the thing, I hope that Turkey Tom understands when I say all this, I'm actually trying to look out for his best interests. All right? I think this guy's charismatic. I think he's intelligent. I think he can make good content. I think what he should do right now is immediately quit that show. This very moment that he hears this, he should quit the fucking lol cow show and try to do something better for himself.
Yes, Tom, please take business advice from DSP, the man who has actually declared bankruptcy. The man who had so many back taxes he had to do begathons to try and raise funds for them. Please follow the advice of a man who has absolutely tanked his YouTube channel that was once prominent. I'm sure that'll work out in your favor. I'm sure it'll do wonders.
Because I know he can. Because I know that he's smart, and I know that he's intelligent, I know he's charismatic, I know he can make good content that's not harmful. He has to stop with that. It's not even the documentary about me I have the problem with. It's all this other shit that he's doing. You know what I'm saying? That's fucked up. And you've got to separate yourself in life. At some point in life, you've got to take a stand for what you believe in, and you've got to understand that it's all about who you associate with as well. And that's just not the right path to go down where he's going. So, you know, all things considered, when you think that it's okay to say you're going to milk someone or you've milked someone like a dehumanized animal and you think that's fine, that's totally morally acceptable because I got views and money off of it. That's where I draw the line.
So this is the second time in the whole Turkey Tom drama arc where DSP has specifically taken up an issue with a singular word. First it was the word failure, now it's the word milk. Truly amazing. Very brave, very beautiful if you ask me.
That's where I draw the line. I'm not going to have anything to do with Turkey Tom. I'm not going to have anything to do with Mudahar. I'm not going to have anything to do with Keemstar. I'm not going to have anything to do with Boogie. I'm not going to have anything to do with Wings of Redemption. I'm not going to have anything to do with anyone associated with that kind of fucking behavior on the internet. That is the complete antithesis of what I stand for on the internet. So if that means that I just sit here and I play games with my audience, as small as it is, and I'm here forever, that's fine. I'm happy with that. I don't need toxic popularity for making bad choices, you know, and being milked. I can't believe that you would even say that in a video and think that's, oh yeah, I'm milking people today. Like, huh? Like what? You think that's fine to talk like that?
I don't know, man. I'd rather him say that he was milking people for content than get on stream and beg every single day. Like, you think that's fine, huh? What? You think that's okay? You see how that can be flipped right back around on you? Just because you don't find something acceptable doesn't mean that other people don't, and they're not necessarily in the wrong for finding different things acceptable.
That's not fine. That's really messed up. Like, I mean it. Go talk to a psychiatrist and tell them you milked someone today, and let's see how they respond to what you said. They're going to be like, dude, what did you just say?
Yeah, they're probably going to think that you're talking about something a little risque and how that's inappropriate to be talking to them about.
Like, huh? But this is it. It's been normalized on YouTube. This behavior has been normalized by people like Keemstar, so it's acceptable now. No, it's not. It's really not. You have to understand. Normal people think this is endlessly fucked up. They don't agree with this culture, this spinning toilet culture of toxic shit. It's awful.
Okay, but DSP, what do you know about normal people? What normal people do you communicate with on the day-to-day? How do you know what normal people think? Because you are not a normal person, and your chat definitely isn't normal people. Are you just at restaurants in your local area talking to the waitstaff about lolcow culture and how you get bullied online? Are you talking to the styrofoam collection guy at the facility talking about how you get bullied? Because if not, I don't understand how you know what normal people think.
And the quicker, the absolute quicker you get out of this toxic vortex, the better. Especially for someone like Turkey Tom, who seems like he's got his head on his shoulders, he's smart, he's intelligent, he could make great content, but he has to get out of the toxic vortex now before you're stuck in it forever. Because guess what? You'll be the next lolcow. You'll be the next one who 10 years down the line, you're desperate for content. And what are you going to do to get it? Well, all you ever did was make fun of people. No one cares about you anymore. Now what are you supposed to do? Right? You're the next one on the list, man. So no, I'm not doing no goddamn interview with him or anyone else involved with any of that toxic shit. And that's my final answer.
So there you have it. That's his final answer, folks. We finally got to the end. Hopefully that's actually the conclusion to the arc. Because in all honesty, I'm kind of over this one already, but I guess it beats talking about being sick for the third or fourth week in a row. But of course, big shout out to Doody Streams for the clip in this one. I really appreciate it, brother. And as always, a big shout out to all of you guys for watching the video. I really do appreciate it, especially if you made it this far. Jesus. Hopefully I'll catch all of you guys in the next one, but until then, make sure that you check out other detractor content and dive deeper into that Snortex.